Well, hello everyone. This is Wilson Cole with Adams, Evans & Ross and ELOC, which also owns backdoorhires.com and Recruiting and Staffing Solutions. And I am here with our brand manager, Allie. How are you doing, Allie?
I'm well. How about yourself?
I am doing fine. Today, it's going to be a relatively quick podcast, but we're going to give you some absolute amazing tool of reference, and it's something that we use. One thing that with Recruiting and Staffing Solutions, media and marketing, they do all of our advertising, all of our digital presence or whatever. And one of the things that they do for Adams, Evans & Ross, which is huge, and it's very, very inexpensive, and it is remarketing. Now, everybody has, Google has their own remarketing, AdRoll has their own remarketing, Facebook has their own remarketing. All of them, though, are basically the same. And in a nutshell, and I'll have Allie kind of go through it in more detail, but if you've ever been sent an email from Adams, Evans & Ross, and you click on the link and you go to a landing page, if you've ever noticed with Adams, Evans & Ross or Backdoor Hires, all of a sudden you start seeing our logo when you're on your news site, or you start seeing our logo when you're shopping. That is called remarketing. It works amazingly well. Allie, kind of give us some details on what remarketing is and how you could use it, the stats behind the science there.
Well, pretty much you explained what remarketing is, where you have cookies on your computer and it tracks what you're doing. And when it tracks that you've shown interest in, for example, us, we will go through and follow you either with Facebook or Google. And this is a way, if you think of it like dating, you don't want to go on a first date with someone and then propose. That would be pretty off-putting. But maybe you want to go on a date, maybe talk a couple more times, and it could lead to that. If you think of remarketing in that way, you want to have the initial hi, hello, where you show interest in us, and then we want to follow up. We just want to remind you that we're still here, and we're not. It's a way to gently remind people so you're not always having so many emails and so many phone calls. It's a different way to reach the same people so you're not bombarding them the same way.
That's a good point, because as marketing has changed, as you all know, and there again, I mean, Allie is my youngest daughter, so she knows that Dad's old. But I have, we built Adams, Evans & Ross into the premier global collection resource for the staffing and recruiting industry. At the end of the day, I'm a collection guy, but I also knew we had to be able to sell our products for me to be the best collection guy, because if we didn't have any clients, then we wouldn't have anything to do. So I've always watched marketing. I've always been fascinated in marketing. And a lot of older folks like myself and the generation above maybe thought, well, in the past, we'd send out a couple of sales letters. We'd send out some email follow-up, sequential emails, and that's how we remarketed. Well, the problem is, and that still works, it just doesn't work as effective because everybody is now in the inbox or whatever. This, if you look at it the same way, these are the sales letter follow-ups back in the 90s and 80s or maybe early 2000s. The telemarketing follow-ups, it's just done through more of a digital format. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Absolutely. Because if you think about in a funnel, you want to start kind of general, and then you can come in with like specific offers of, if you click on this banner ad, if you use this promo code, you can get this discount, and you can start more general and then maybe push a little bit harder with sales offers if you want to go that route. And so you can really think about the sales process of your buyer. And then something that's also noteworthy about a lot of the remarketing techniques is a lot of them are cost per click. So you don't get charged unless someone's clicking on your advertisement. So you really can't lose, because, sometimes people do click on the wrong thing, but for the most part, they're pretty interested in you if they're willing to click on that, which is something to note, because you're not having to spend money on something you don't know will work.
Well, that's actually a good point. And for somebody that owns magazines, I want you to think of what Allie just said there. Is, let's say you set up some type of remarketing, whether you utilize us, you do it on your own, you use another agency, doesn't matter. Let's assume you get this thing set up. Somebody lands on your pages, it inserts a pixel. And so now it follows them around, and it will start showing your logo. All of that is 100% free unless they click on it. Then it's going to cost them $3, $10, $8, $4, whatever that price per click. Is that what I
think the average cost per click is about $1.50 and some change, but I mean, it depends on the industry. Some clicks can be significantly more than that, some are cheaper, but somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay. So with remarketing, if you kind of look at it, if you're an old guy, and I think there's a lot of mature business owners out there that, in the last 15 years, things have shifted. And so they kind of feel lost. And one of the things that I did that made sense to me, and this is something that I'll kind of share with you guys and some other, maybe that's going to be a podcast for another time. But if you look at remarketing, it's just another version of sequential emails or sequential sales letters or sequential telemarketing follow-ups. It's the replacement. It's really, it's a newer technology, but the marketing philosophy is the same. You're wanting to be top of mind. You're wanting to be in front of them. And this is a way to where if they, instead of going out and casting a net looking for folks that are interested in your services, with remarketing, they would have had to have visited either your website or a landing page, so they've already shown initial interest. And so the conversion of that, I would assume, would be considerably cheaper than going out and finding a new prospect.
Absolutely. It's just a new way to look at a sales funnel. It's the same exact philosophy of you're just walking your clients or potential clients through the buying process. And it's just a new, different way to do it, to reach people where they already are.
Well, that is one thing that I do want, maybe for a subject for another day, because a lot of people hear sales funnels, and if you're probably 35 or maybe 40 and under, sales funnel is inhale, exhale. To an old guy that started hearing the sales funnel 5 years ago, 7 years ago, and understanding, what that meant from a digital standpoint, that's something that I would want to. That is something that I want to go into on another subject. But for this particular subject, with remarketing, if somebody lands, if they're interested in it, then remarketing is just another way to kind of that courtship, to keep in top of mind and convert them over. Is that pretty much an analogy of it?
Absolutely. It's just trying to get in front of the right people at the right time.
Okay. And if you want to see, before you spend money, if you want to see what it will do, like with Adams, Evans, and Ross, you can do one of two things. A, if you already know what it is and you want to discuss us handling it for you, you can email Allie, Alley, at elotglobal.com. Elot Global is the parent company that owns all of ours, which I own Elot Global as well. Allie's over on the recruiting and staffing solutions media side. But if you email Allie at elotglobal.com, she will send you some information on remarketing. But also what we can do is, if you kind of want to see what it looks like to follow around, we'll send you a link where you go to one of our landing pages, and then you can kind of see. And you can also set, do I want to follow up with them for 7 days, or do I want to follow up with them in 30 days? We have some of our stuff set to where I only want to follow up with them for about 7 to 10 days. I've got other stuff where we'll follow them around for a month. And so you can kind of set that, but that is a very inexpensive and highly, highly cost-effective. I can tell you from a sales standpoint, it works. And, we tried that method, and I would say we added probably about a 30% increased client rate by going with remarketing, and it was much cheaper than having somebody constantly follow up with.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, thank y'all for joining us for this episode, and we've got some cool stuff coming next week as well. And in the coming episodes, we're kind of going to break down some of the sales funnels that we do.